Let me bring in my man, D. Lemon. We're both observing what's happening in this country, exposing what's wrong, trying to shine light on what's right. In California, this is just wrong.
Yeah.
Contra Costa County District Attorney's Office has charged 2 residents with 3 misdemeanor counts, including a hate crime. And here's why. You know, they got a permit to paint Black Lives Matter there. They got a permit. They did it legally.
Yep.
These people came in and painted over it illegally. And why? Because they said, there is no such thing as racism. It ended with the Emancipation Proclamation.
Yeah, and they said not in our town. This will not happen in my town, they said. And, I played this last night, and the thing that got me, Chris, was they were painting over Black Lives Matter letters in black, which you would still be able to see because they were painting over the black letters. So they were actually, in a weird way, helping with the art there. Black Lives Matter, black paint. But listen, there are cameras now. People can't get away with these things. They had to know that they would get caught, or maybe they didn't think. The guy's wearing a Make America Great Again hat. He's screaming those sorts of things about, I think he's like, Make America Great Again or something of that nature. And this is where we are in this country right now. People think that they can get away and do this stuff, and that it is similar to the conversation that you were having with Angela. I guess it's related. Our country, not your country. This is my country, my town, my city, and there are certain people who don't belong, or at least what you think that is right. You want to fight for criminal justice. You want Black Lives Matter. You want to be able to have a sign that you put on the street. You can't do that because it's my town.
And look, genius doesn't always have morality attached to it. Often it doesn't. And it all fits together, D. The lies about the pandemic, the lies about, what this president will make happen, the lies of those around him as an echo of support, the lies about what Black Lives Matter is about. It's all about creating division.
Yeah.
And making, in a country that is well over 70% white, if this happens, it is bad for you. They literally say it on state TV. It's coming for you next.
Oh, yeah. Well, you see the right-wing machine kick in, media machine kick in, when you see Trump's poll numbers go south. They kick in with
no position on the Confederate flag.
Yeah, Democratic cities are in chaos right now. Is this what you want from Joe Biden? And they're going to take your country away, and they're taking down the statues. And
crime is rising as they defund police.
Oh, my gosh, it's so bad. And they get defunding police. It's like, whew. And the people who you saw there, for the most part, not them specifically, I'm talking about as a whole, fall for it. They fall for it, and that's why they do things like what they did. They want to paint over signs, and they think it's our country. This is the country that we built, even though a rich diversity of people helped to build this country. And many of us, meaning our ancestors, for free, did not get paid for it, could not get an education, could not build wealth, or not on statues, Confederate or otherwise, or not on Mount Rushmore. I think, listen, people are going to pick this up. If they're going to put someone on Mount Rushmore, considering the history of this country, the first black president should be front and center.
Add to Mount Rushmore. Look, I think that's first of all, I think it's a more saleable idea than the idea of taking away founding fathers. And again, all of this is fodder for debate and discussion. You got to have the talk. You just can't hate people from having ideas you don't like. That's the only mistake we can make. And, a lot of this, I was talking with my kids about this, and we were talking about slavery, and I was saying, we did this, we did that, we did this. And I was saying, now listen, as you're getting context for this, Cuomos have only been here a couple of generations, but you have to understand we own the history of this place.
Yeah.
Because now you are charged with, what do you do here? What are you about? How do you collaborate in the creation here? Whether it's the pandemic or whether it's the virus of racism, what we do have to do in this country is everybody, you're doing it beautifully and brilliantly yourself. Of course, I'm biased and I love you, but you're using your platform. You've made a choice. You may not be winning yourself a lot of fans, but you're going to say what you think is true from your experience, hard minted for many years in this business and in this country.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to make a choice about what they're going to do right now. It's a famous song from Rush. Even if you choose not to decide, you've still made a choice. And that's where this president is with the Confederacy.
All right, preach there, Cuomo. Listen, I have to say it's, you know, many times I do this because I am not just speaking for myself, but I'm speaking for other people. And I think it's important to give people, as I've said before, we have to cut people a break in this time. People are vulnerable. You know, we've got the coronavirus. They're sitting at home. Some people don't know where their next meal's coming from. They had a tough time with their jobs and on and on. But you can't let people off the hook. So it's tough for many people's ears to hear you say, well, we have to add, we can't change, we can't take it down, when Native Americans would say, well, that didn't happen when it came to us.
True.
And so what's wrong? What's wrong with all of us together thinking or reshaping our country so that more people rethinking our country and the way we think and where our priorities are so that this country belongs to everyone. It's not
Nothing's wrong with it.
It's not just my country.
Right.
Maybe some of the people, I'm not saying that they should, but maybe some of the people up there on Mount Rushmore, who knows? It wasn't Mount Rushmore. If you know, the name shouldn't be Mount Rushmore. If you talk to Native Americans,
right.
They say it is stolen land. It was only Mount Rushmore 40 years before they started to carve presidents' faces in it. And no one got any money for that. And the person who was behind that was one of the founding fathers or
right.
was a president.
Was a president.
Was a president. And so
I think that you're totally right. I think the premise is where we're going to have to work towards, which is if we all decide. It's about consensus and collective consciousness. And if you get to a point...
The majority of the people aren't always on the right side, though. I mean, look at the civil rights movement. That's so... Just because...
Right, but you got to that point where you got a majority of the country because otherwise you wouldn't have had the legislation. You know, you have to get to a point where the country... Look, Plessy v. Ferguson, separate but equal. Mm-hmm. A lot of people thought that was Supreme Court law of the land. People thought that was the end of the discussion. Yeah. Fine, you got equal rights here. We're equal. But we're separate, which was an extension of Lincoln's philosophy, by the way. Then you had Brown versus the Board of Education. Yeah. And it was a whole rebirth of cultural awareness. We need collective conscience. The key has to be the we.
And we need education. I really do think we need education. And I think people need to learn about the founding fathers. As I say, they were not perfect. Doesn't mean that they didn't do great things. I don't like to deify anyone, right? But they were not perfect. Lincoln wasn't perfect. People think that Lincoln just said, hey, listen, we're going to free these people, and that he was always on the right side.
Right.
No, he wasn't. There were people who wanted to expatriate black people or Africans and send them to colonize them, send them somewhere else, right?
Listen, you are dead right. I was blessed with having a father who was a Lincoln scholar. Yeah. And he was piping this stuff into my head since I was a teenager. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, the best thing that ever come out of your pie hole was when you said early on in this, if you have a black friend, talk to them. If you don't have one, find one. If you're a black person, find one. That is the key. Because when people start to hear about different people's experiences, things start to change in your own experience and your own perspective. That's where we got to get to. That's all.